Greetings, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Winnin' In podcast. I am your host, Max P, and I'm joined by Jorman the Great and Kevin Simmons, the dark rog extraordinaire. Well, used to be until what happened today. We originally had a plan to talk about some decks that were rising in the meta, but the universe had other plans. So we're changing things completely at this point. How you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Today was weird to say the least. You know, this news that we're gonna speak about was very unexpected, but other than that, I've had a good day.
Yeah, man, I'd say I'm doing great. I'm in a really good spot with CEDH overall, where I just feel really confident. Just with how things have been playing out. And then with the news, obviously, I was like feeling almost addicted to the phone all day, where it's like, what's the next big person's take? You know, like how are others perceiving this? Because I have my own opinions that are still kind of forming.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, and if you don't know, like, who are you? Where have you been? I don't know how you don't know at this point. But yesterday, when you're hearing this, the RC, the Rules Committee for EDH, released a set of bans that kind of shook the foundations of the format for all of us, and that was specifically, I'll put the thing up on screen for people to see, but they banned Dockside, they banned Metacrypt, they banned Jewel Lotus, and they banned Nadu. I went to my LGS to play. I always, like, on Mondays I get together with my local guys and we play CDH, and we're walking in the shop. They're like, "Hey, did you hear about the ban? They banned Dockside, Metacrypt, and Jewel Lotus." And we're like, "Ha ha ha! That's funny. That's not real, dude. That's hilarious." Wait, no, they actually did.
You know, it's funny. I thought the exact same thing when my group texted me and they were like, "Yo, these bans." I was like, "What are you guys talking about?" They go, "Metacrypt, Dockside." I was like, "Yeah, right." I was not born yesterday, you know.
I thought all the pictures were fake. I thought it was all fake until I saw the website. I was like, this is not real. That would never happen.
Yeah.
I was like, these are pillars of the format. Like, what's happening? Nadu, I was like, whatever, sure. It was like speculating.
I feel like Nadu was inevitable. Like, that was going to happen at some point, just because, like, in the casual game, it seems like it would be really oppressive, and we know the RC generally does their bans for casual. But then this, like, you know, and I talked to, the first thing I did was ask, you know, Jim about it, along with like 10 million other people. And Jim clarified, he said specifically that these bans were not made with CDH in mind. I personally have a really hard time believing that. I have a hard time digesting that, because, like, why do casuals care about those cards? Like, it just doesn't seem like they're that prevalent or that oppressive in casual. Like, these are CDH cards.
Yeah, I think.
And this ban specifically hits us.
It definitely, yeah, I feel the same way. It's weird because, like, I feel like Jewel Lotus is a card that, like, helps casual in a way, because it allows so many commanders to be viable. Again, I don't really play casual Magic, but it just seems like more big mana commanders would be fun for people to, like, play with. And I didn't think that Dockside affected casual, or at least the people I know who play casual, they're just like, Dockside doesn't hit for that much, or people don't even play the card because it's a waste of a card slot. So it's, like, weird.
Yeah. Players that are playing casual, at least from what I remember, and I haven't really played casual in some time, so take it with a grain of salt, but my experience was always much more cultivates and less fast mana rocks, i.e. Chrome Moxes, etc., where Dockside really feeds off of. So the Dockside specifically, I do think felt very aimed towards CEDH. The other bands, I think I can understand a lot of the backing with the casual mindset.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem with it wasn't even the specific cards that were banned. It's just the fact that, you know, we just went through this big trauma where we had we tried to set up a separate CDH rules committee that didn't really work out. We looked at banning, you know, Ristic Study, and that didn't work out. And we had this whole communication with the rules committee with Jim LePage basically saying, you know, they're not going to do anything for CDH. There's just not going to be a lot of movement. There's nothing going to be happening. And then boom, this gets dropped. And it's not just, you know, a small ban. It's a massive ban that upends a huge portion of the format. I mean, we're talking 10, 15, 20 different decks that are massively impacted by these cards, and some of which are just simply not viable anymore. And that, happening all of a sudden out of nowhere without warning is just devastating to the format. It's just completely put everyone on the back foot, and I think a lot of people are panicking right now.
I feel like the meta is definitely about to shift. It's definitely it's going to be the Wild Wild West. Obviously, with the like official ban list, everything's about to change. The top decks are about to change. I feel like 2 of the top decks are no longer top decks. It's going to be really weird.
So I actually view this a little bit differently, this is great because we get to have a good conversation about it, right? But I think that what this does is just make Timnacrom, VarrakS substantially more powerful, because Dockside and Mana Crypt are the cards that they're really losing here, right? And I guess Jeweled Lotus sometimes for TNK, but really it's Dockside and Mana Crypt that they're losing. And those are cards that are just nice to see. They're not essential to their game plans. I mean, I've been mulling and changing around my Dockside or my VarrakS list all day, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I think VarrakS is the exception there. Like, I think that VarrakS is fine. And this doesn't impact VarrakS that much. I mean, losing Dockside something, losing Crypt is a little something, but generally speaking, ROG by itself gives you so much mana acceleration that no other deck has, that ROG actually gets better, I think. And it doesn't, it's not like it wins with Dockside loops or anything. It's just, Dockside's just a ritual, for ROG's size. So it's not that big of a deal. But I think Timnacrom is hit a bit more, because not being able to Jewel Lotus out a Crom is a big deal, right? So their whole setup gets them a lot slower. Sisay is wrecked. I mean, Sisay's got to be wrecked by this. I mean, how much of that deck runs on the back of a quick Dockside? I mean,
I just feel like
devastating.
I feel like TNK is just, I feel like it's a fair deck now. I feel like Tymna as a strategy is a fair strategy. Like, turn 2 Tymna is not a game-winning play. Yes, your commanders draw cards. Yes, the card quality is good, but not having T1 Crom, not having Mana Crypt into like your bombs on turn 2, I just don't feel like TNK is in a good spot with, like, yeah, sure, Dockside didn't matter. If Dockside was the only thing that got banned, TNK is fine. We cut Dockside, we cut Snap, we take some clones out, and we chill. But like, the fast mana being hit is kind of like really bad. It just makes the deck a turn too slow.
Yeah.
And it blows so many other fringe strategies out too. Like Tymna Jessica, the deck is basically dead right now. Like, I lose the whole Chthonian Nightmare, Dockside, Cloud.
You don't need Chthonian Nightmare.
That whole element of the deck is gone.
You don't need Chthonian Nightmare. I'm telling you. Pyre Heroes into Auriok Salvagers. You're good. Tymna's a human, bro. Tymna's a human, bro. The spice is already cooking. You just put Pyre Heroes into play.
I love it.
Turn Tymna into Auriok Salvagers. Lines I diamond. Shake my hand. I'm telling you.
God.
You're bringing it up, so I gotta just give my boy a little shout out. Dockside, you mentioned a second ago, like, oh, it's basically just a ritual. Well, I mean, the next iteration, the future of Dark ROG, if you will, did or did not, depending on what side of the fence you're on. I'm driving this idea, or was, where Magda was basically a creature-based combo that ROGSI had access to. And man, let me tell you, it was disgusting how well it was working for the 2 tournaments that I got to play it in.
All right.
Dark ROG is dead.
You did have Magda. That's hot.
It could be, but also it could not be, because when we're looking at these bans overall, they're slowing down the format, I think, is the attempt. So that the games feel more balanced and fair for each player. But then hold on. I'll stop you there. Okay.
Yeah. Again, making the assumption that the rules committee actually thought through what you're saying, and I don't believe that for a second.
Oh, yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. Go on.
I think that was the intent for Commander overall. And then like within CEDH, I believe that's the effect, where the format slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not including Nadu in that, I guess. I think Nadu's kind of like the outlier, actually, within this ban list. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that deck too, I guess.
I agree.
But yeah,
Nadu's the one I expected, and the other ones don't make any sense. The sad thing is like our whole conversation tonight was supposed to be, we were going to talk about Secret Nadu in Derevi. We were going to talk about Secret Nadu in TNT, and we were going to talk about Dark Rog, with which was going to be basically Dockside plus Magda into, either tutoring up a Hoarding Broodlord or a Bolus of Citadel instead. All of that shit is dead. None of that shit works.
Yeah,
anymore.
rest in peace, Emil. Rest in peace, Teamer Sabretooth. Lily Splash Mentor didn't even get a chance to shine, really. Teamer Pals are dead. I mean, I don't know. They're still rock their ass combos, but like without Dockside, they're just not good.
No. Everyone's like Kinnan becomes like unstoppable juggernaut, doesn't it? Has zero impact on Kinnan at all.
I mean,
care.
yeah, I think Kinnan's going to be good. I think the entire format's going to change. I think we're just going to be playing like Legacy Plus right now. I think the entire format's going to just be like tempo control. Like, I feel like the top two decks are going to be like TNT and Eureka. There's no reason, there's no reason to not play green. Every mana dork is half a land drop. There's no reason to not play green. If a Bowmaster come down, you just layer your Bowmaster above it. Like, it's just, I think TNT is the 4-color pile deck. Like, I think TNT just replaces TNK. Again, we're like going backwards. It's kind of weird because people were like talking about like this in correlation to the flash ban, and the flash ban is something that CDH players wanted. So they're like, you had a group of people that were playing TNT. Then you had a group of people that were like playing Kenrith who added Flash Hope to Kenrith and were like, oh, this is like crack. And then you had the people who were just playing their decks, people who just wanted to play their decks. And they were just like, yeah, we don't like this like sandbag, I lose when I crack a fetch meta. Like people will just crack a fetch and someone will just be like, oh yeah, Summoner's Pact, you lose the game. And CDH players hated that. So this is like way more like integral to the format than like banning Flash. CDH players wanted Flash gone, and this just shakes the entire format at its core.
Yeah, like one of the beauties, or I think main attractions of CEDH, I know it was for myself when I first got into it, like 5 years ago or whatever now, was just that you get to play so much broken stuff, right? Like Mana Crypt, Chrome Mox, Mox Amber, all the Moxes, sans a few Power 9 or whatever. Like, you were such a fast format, but also you had such a strong element of variance because of the deck building restriction. So when I look at the 4 cards that they chose here, again, sans Nadu, so it's really 3. I think what they're trying to do anyway, from a rules committee standpoint, is just balance out the power levels of what potential 99, 98 cards you could have in your list. And they singled down the air quote free mana sources as the quickest, best way to do that. And I think that's supported quite well because Dockside, I mean, how often would it just make 12, 20? I had it in an event one time. Dockside made like 32 treasures, I think, for 2 mana investments.
But you know what the flip side of this though is? The flip side of that is like we go from being at least at like good tables where people were very careful about playing their mana rocks. Like, I'm not just going to dump all my rocks on the table and pass to the Corvold player because that's how you quickly lose a game, right? That all goes away, and now it's I'm just going to dump my rocks. I don't care. I have no fear anymore. I'm playing every single rock I can immediately.
Like both of you are right. I feel like there's like, I like your analysis, Kevin, on the idea that like the color pies are like more even now, because I guess you're right, the free mana sources to them was a way to even out the power balance in terms of green's gonna ramp, red's gonna have these 2 win cons, or you're gonna still have breach, you're gonna still have historical, you just get to just even out the way that you build your decks. And I guess that'll like fix the power dynamic of Grixis or like blue and black being the strongest colors. It's like weird. Like when I think about deck building, I feel like it will fit. It's gonna take time, like adapting to CDH being a slower format, because we were just speeding back up. So we were going back into a turbo slanted. Oh, everything is going fast, and now it's just like, no, y'all have to slow down.
I think that's all correct. Let me ask you guys this. I'll ask you one at a time. Hot take: are you happy with this banning, or do you hate it?
Yeah, Jorman, you're first, man.
I don't hate it. I'm just shook. I'm just like weird. I'm just like, I never thought it would happen. It's like a sense of like anxiety, I guess, of like, oh, can Thorkel be banned tomorrow? Like, that's the real question. Like, what's gonna happen? But I mean, I don't hate it. The only thing I hate Mana Crypt being gone. I thought Mana Crypt was as integral to the format as like Soul Ring. I didn't care about Dockside being gone. I kind of wanted Dockside to be gone, just so people don't have mana acceleration. Jewel Lotus feels weird because I want access to more commanders. Well, I want to play. Yeah. I want to play against more commanders, and so like it's that was weird. Again, Nadu, I'm indifferent about. Like we've been saying, it's just like I didn't actually think it was gonna happen. I thought it was okay for CDH, but I understand why it's like Paradox Engine like. But I'm not super against the bans. They're fine. I just miss Mana Crypt.
How about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I think those are really good takes, actually. So overall, I'm definitely sad to see like which cards are selected. I think the one that hurts the most is definitely Mana Crypt, because that seems to just give so much power to so many different strategies. Similar to Jeweled Lotus, where Jorman's saying like he wants to play against more different types of commanders, and Jeweled Lotus is actually one like that really had me close to playing Elsha for a minute, which that's a pet card, you know, where it's like, oh, this Elsha too, that card's just sick. More cards like Jeweled Lotus I thought was going to be the future direction that they're going to take us in, so I'm a little vested in that department. But with all of that said, at the same time, I think that change overall can be very good. Although our what draws us to the format, or not us, but many players to the format, is these higher power levels. I think that this forces more intentionality into how you deck build, because cards like Dockside, Mana Crypt, it's like if you're not playing those, you know, up until this point, what are you doing? I think it makes green much more powerful, which many I know people have agreed that green has been the most weak color in the color pie, just because it's like, who plays dorks in the world of Bowmaster? You know, right. where now dorks seem to have this upside of consistency of mana generation. So I'm kind of 50-50 overall. Like, I'm sad about the cards we're losing, but excited for the deck brewing that we'll get to share, you know?
Yeah, I think that's all pretty much where I am for the most part. Like, I think a change is good in a lot of ways, in the sense that the meta needed to be shook up a little bit and give us some more creativity to work with, and that's all great. I hate the ban because of the way it was done, and because I think it undermines confidence in the format as a whole, because for our longest time felt stable. This is, you know, if you build a deck, I can bling it out and not worry about it. You know, I can really invest myself in a concept and not worry about it being completely obliterated the next day. Like, you know, in Modern, you know, that happens all the time. I used to play Blue-White Control in Modern, and, you know, bannings happen and all of a sudden you couldn't play it anymore. And that's now become the reality for CDH on some level. Like, the anxiety that Jorman was talking about. Like, I'm anxious. I'm worried that, you know, my format is not being looked out for in the right way, and that the floor isn't stable beneath me.
They already did this. So they did this to me twice. When they banned Paradox Engine, Green White Sisay wasn't a thing anymore. Then when they banned Flash, I couldn't play TNT anymore. This is the third time they killed one of my decks in Commander. So I'm like, oh.
I am strongly of the opinion that we cannot go forward as a community relying on the rules committee as it exists today. That cannot be the way things are forever. We have to have our own governance. CDH has to become its own format and its own ban list and its own people looking out for it. And we can't continue the way we are now. That's how I feel. I don't know if you guys agree or not.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, just with the timeline on how this all transpired, where, you know, obviously the CEDH RC comes out a little bit hastily and then gets, you know, just destroyed and goes up into flames, and then immediately after, coincidentally, we get an RC update, which is, I mean, no matter how you dice it, on the optimal side, where it's like, yay, creativity and change, but the negative side of that is also like they're nuking a bunch of CEDH staples, right? So like the time frame I just think is very interesting, and I would overall support the idea of separating, but I think it needs to be a very slow pace that we take moving forward to make sure that it's done correctly. And you're never going to get 100% approval, but obviously I just want to lose as few players as possible if a split is what is really required, which all signs are kind of pointing to. So
yeah, I kind of agree. I think we do need a split from like the RC. I feel like it would help. I feel like CDH is like a place where we want that level of deck diversity. We want a whole bunch of decks to be viable, and I feel like we have to curate that from the inside of CDH. Also from like the Rebel video. Rebel did a good job of explaining like we mulligan really low in CDH for a reason. So cards like Mana Crypt are integral to to wherever you are in a seat position. You could be first, you could be fourth. It doesn't matter what level of advantage you're getting. You could be I could be playing Kinnan in Molder 3 going first, and I could just go Mana Crypt, land, Manglehorn. And that just sets everyone back and also advances my board state. So I feel like just the ability to play CDH the way we want to play CDH and unbans that increase that level of deck diversity that are in line with what Kevin said the RC is in line with. Just like streamlining the power level means that we just should be able to curate our own format. Because if they're not banning for us, then it's just not conducive to the way tournament Magic is moving.
Right. I agree. And the other thing is, I think to Kevin's point, like this is not something we need to rush into. Everyone feels like this is, oh my God, the world's ending, the sky's falling, the walls are closing in. Like if we slow down for a second and put this together the right way, then we can get on the right path and sort of right the ship. I think very strongly, I'm of the opinion that this needs to be not another RC where you have 5 guys in a room deciding for everyone what the rules are going to be, what the bans are going to be. That cannot be the way. I think on some level it needs to be democratic. Like it needs to be feedback from the community. Everyone needs to give their 2 cents. There needs to be some kind of voting process or something where everyone has a part to play in what ends up being banned or not banned. And yeah, it's going to be a challenge to figure that out. I know a lot of people have been working on it. I've been working on it myself. I have with Zen, Pauper Fanatic, and Poncho, my friend Micah. Like the 3 of us have been working on stuff for months now of how to set some of the stuff up, have mechanisms for collecting votes and feedback and everything, and a rules mechanism as opposed to a rules committee. Because no matter how you do it, no matter how you shake it out, if you have 5 guys in a room, someone's going to question why those 5 guys, or someone's going to question every decision they make. Why did you decide that? We don't agree with that. The only way to make it clean is if everyone has a say. And the only way to do that is some level of democracy.
Yeah. Because like something, and kind of to feed off of some of the, looking at this whole ban list update as an optimist, I think the takeaways are that change is good for creativity purposes, right? But then when you look at a more micro level, the cards being lost are kind of part of the heart of the format, right?
Yeah.
So I do agree wholeheartedly that a separate RC is going to be very beneficial. But then also just it's kind of a soft reminder that this is for most people a hobby. Even including myself, who's someone that is very much so a grinder. And the best part, I'm probably the least grinder of the 3 of us. Like I travel once or twice a year, on a plane. Like, I don't know. I think overall it's very important to have a group that understands the heart of what our format truly is to make changes from within. But also that people's fears of the separation are addressed with the time frame that it respects.
I definitely agree. It's like it's weird. CDH feels weird. It already felt weird in the last like 2 weeks, and then today just shook it up even more to the point where it's like it did remind me that I'm playing a children's card game. There are more things to life than like cardboard. It definitely was that reminder of like, all right, anything can happen at any time. You just chill.
I think that highlights something like just in general in CDH is, the community is run by us, like all of us. None of these people are professionals.
Yeah.
They're not professional Magic governing body. Like these are guys who, this is their hobby just like us. And, even the same thing with a lot of these tournament organizers, most of them are hobbyists as well. Like this is not a professional, this is not a WotC endorsed reality here where professionals are running things. This is a bunch of amateurs putting together tournaments and trying to make things happen. And a lot of what we've seen over the last few months have been the results of that. Like you see people, I hate to say it like this, but utterly fail to communicate in a professional manner because they're not professionals, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we see. So, I think we all have to be a little bit patient and, give some time for us to figure this shit out.
I think, like I 100% agree with everything you're saying. And to build on top of that, I think that the only thing that is going to cultivate true healthy growth is creating an encouraging environment for ideas to be shared. Because when people feel shamed or very much so nervous, which seems to be the overall vibe, if you will, especially as like, I know most of the people that tried to do the CEDH, RC, whatever, like, and it seemed, at least from an outside perspective, that the intentions were good. Execution may not have been so much. So I think giving grace to the shared ideal of improvement is going to benefit us all.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. So what happens now? Like, I guess you think this is, I guess it's going to get adopted and we're going to see this ban list, at least for a while, become the norm at these tournaments, man.
We're all playing Psychic Frog decks. It's straight tempo control. For the next for the next 6 months, it's TNT and Eureka. I'm telling you, get ready to get everything.
No,
everything's getting interacted with.
No. I'm bringing back Tassiger. Tassiger.
Yes. Well, it's gonna be slow because Joe Lotus is like 5 mana. Well, 4 because you get to delve it. But like,
delve.
Yeah, but I get to play Dorks. I get to play Bowmasters. I get to, infinite mana wins the game. Let's go, man.
Lion's Eye Diamond is actually more mana than Jeweled Lotus because of the delve.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Sure. Well, it's the same.
I love it.
I don't need a hand.
They're both 4, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm obviously a little bit biased, as I guess.
No, it's more because I discard my hand and then I get to delve.
Oh, true.
Yeah. I'm biased here, but I think Dark Rog actually gets substantially better because Rogsai, just in player experience, gets most punished by players keeping fast wins, and those always involve Dockside Extortionist. So now that is no longer a factor and there's no punishing attribute towards dumping your hand and wheeling, and other people aren't going to go Mana Crypt into something ridiculous, like I just see Dark Rog getting better and better. Bolas Citadel now has additional upside of not needing mana to cast spells and being able to utilize life. I think it's a clear runway.
I actually feel like Rogside players are underestimating the amount of control players they're going to be. I think y'all are underestimating how many Cobras are about to play these Dimir decks with just interaction that do not play ad nauseum, and they're about to replace like Mana Crypt with like Commandeer. Like you.
Tal, let's go, Tal.
Yeah, you don't understand how many more counter spells are going to be in this format.
Okay, but here's the thing, guys. Like, I think that this is maybe an industry secret within ROG players. We all hope ROG gets banned. I hope that you all are correct. But until I am proven scientifically that is the truth,
VarrakS is going to be good. No, VarrakS is going to be real good. It's going to continue to be the turbo deck to beat. There's no question about that. But I think I think Jorman's 100% right. We're going to see a bunch of Yuriko. We're going to see a bunch of Kinnan, Talion, all these mid-range control type decks, and because Ristic Study is still a thing, Mystic Remora is still a thing, right? None of the draw engines are gone; they're all still there. So we're gonna delve right back into mid-range hell for a while. That's what's coming.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I put Notion Thief back in my deck today. So we'll see.
You still play Ad Nauseam? Yeah. No. Ad Nauseam is still a thing. It's going to be N-Step Nauseam. All these Esper decks. We're already brewing up Sakashima Timna. Well, 2 Timnas coming back. Everything is about to be. It's about to be
2 Timnas.
Everything.
Yeah, because you got time now. Like, it used to be, the problem was like by the time you could drop Timna, sure, but then you have to drop Sakashima too. It's a 4-mana commander. It's too slow. It's just been too slow. Now it's not too slow at all. You got plenty of time for that. And then the draw gets out of control immediately. You can do Doomsday. You can do Naws. You can do Pier.
You can have like 4 or 5 Talions when Sakashima comes down. Every clone of your deck could just be Talion. You can have a Talion on 1 through 4.
If you're doing Pier after Flare of Duplication was printed, I salute you.
But no one's playing red anymore. Everyone's going to be on Esper. No one's playing.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Final Fortune and Breach don't matter. I feel like Breach is too many slots to matter now because, like you said, dorks equal consistency, even in Bowmaster meta. Like it is weird though when you think about it, how we were thinking yesterday and how we're thinking today in terms of like dorks were garbage less than 24 hours ago. In the context of just like, I don't want to get tempoed. And now in a world of tempo, consistency, dorks matter more than everything now. I can crack an Emergence Zone and just neoform into Thoracle at any moment. 1-drops matter more than anything in a world where green is a good color. Turn 2s are still as consistent in green decks as they are on Roxai. I can just go turn 1 Finhorn Elf, turn 2 Underground Sea, neoform the Finhorn Elf into Thoracle Console. Like, games still end on turn 2.
Yeah. Green becomes crazy.
Yes,
good
Containment Priest. Containment Priest is the best stacks piece in the format. In a world where people are playing green critters and Yuriko. Like Containment Priest just stops ninjutsu.
You're 100% right. You're gonna end up with these Esper Staxy decks, like where they're running like Containment Priest, Grafdigger's Cage, like all that stuff's gonna be there. And then the opposite side, you're gonna have the green decks that are trying to ramp into Thoracle Console wins.
Nature's Claim comes back, but Sage's not the only piece of artifact and enchantment removal anymore, because it's just like 1-for-1 tempo, and you have to try to win the game on turn 3 before anyone else is set up, or you're playing the game for an hour and a half. It's like the mindset of winning on which is still the same.
Which is a problem, by the way, which is another problem, because we just got to the point where tournaments were running smoothly in terms of time, where not every game was going to a draw because things just got faster.
Well, I don't know, because they also top deck, at least I know they just recently laid out or top deck.
Who?
Huh?
Sorry, go on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, true. No, but they just did a software update where their pairings in later rounds intentionally pair players that would prefer an ID with players that need a win and in. So I experienced that up in Michigan for a Twister event very recently, and it felt great. Like, not one table wanted to ID because no table that I sat down with an undefeated record was able to just say, yeah, let's just draw. This is cool. Like, there was always at least one person that was like, I'm sorry, but I have to play. So maybe that becomes the keys.
The last 2 weeks have been really good. That algorithm change has been really good for like the ID problem right now. Because I think it does 2 things. I think it masks the players that want to play for an intentional draw, like that don't want to play for an intentional draw. So like if you're already locked for top 16 and you want to play for seeding and you don't want the table to like jump you, then it's like, oh, I can just, now I'm forced to play because there's someone who's on a winning end and I have to play Magic now. But like at first I thought it was going to cause like the SCG dilemma, like it's no longer a 3v1, but it's like a 1v1v2. So it's like in some pods, it's going to be two players that like are locked or are locked with a draw. So they're playing for a draw, and then the other two players are going to be playing their own game, but they're both playing for a win. And like I've only had one scenario in the past like 2 tournaments with the new algorithm that's happened. It's been like at least 2 to 3 people that are all on winning ends, and one player who's locked for top cut. And it's actually been people have been playing more Magic already in the last like just 14 days.
Well, that's good. It's real good.
Yeah.
But my concern is less about the IDs and more about like just games that go naturally to time. I think there's going to be more of that because we're going to see the rise of some of these Stax decks too. Like we're going to see Urza come back. Urza Stax is going to be a thing. We're going to see that.
See, that's very interesting to hear that take, because I think a lot of people would obviously agree with that, being that the format is being slowed down with the ban of Dockside, Mana Crypt, and then also Nadu. Let's be honest, this is one of the areas where Nadu kind of put a cap or a governor on Stax lists, just in that it got around so many Stax pieces that it just punished those types of lists. So I do think Stax will have a lot of merit in coming back, but I'm not sure that this ban list update necessarily fixes some of the fundamental philosophy flaws within Stax, just being that you have to convince a table full of 4 people, 3 opponents, to sit there and do nothing within your lock or soft lock, let's say, instead of punting the game. I think the majority of players would still prefer to punt than sit there and lose over the next hour and a half.
I agree, but the problem that we were running into with Nadu specifically is you had a situation where you couldn't play Stax because Stax had no impact on Nadu. So all the turbo decks, you had this like juxtaposition where every answer I have that's good against turbo does absolutely fuck all against Nadu, and every answer I have for Nadu does absolutely nothing to turbo. That dynamic is now gone, right? The meta has slowed down. If you're a Stax player, you have more time to drop Stax pieces onto the field than you did before.
Okay, yeah. So I do see what you're saying, and I agree with 100% of it. The only thing that I would add, where I think could eventually end up in a disagreement, would be, the meme where it's like Scooby-Doo and they're like ripping the mask off of the one villain. They're like, wait a minute, you're the same freaking thing. That's basically the way that I see this Nadu ban with Kinnan, because Kinnan's biggest strength was always in a mixed meta. Or let's shout out Tameshi, right? Where I think that deck fills a very similar strength in that if you provide a mixed meta pod of one turbo deck, one mid-range and or Stax deck with Tameshi or Kinnan in the pod, you are losing to that player.
Italian for that
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Italian as well, right? Yeah. So I think Nadu was much more egregious than Tameshi or Kinnan, but then also you do have those threats that you need to be heads up to.
Yeah, although I think that at the very least we'll go back to the dynamic of being, if things get really fast and turbo starts to take over, Stax comes in and mid-range comes in and stops it. Whereas we weren't able to shift back to that because Nadu was in the way.
I feel like people are underestimating how long it's going to take till their commanders. I feel like a Stax deck and an Urza deck are different, just because you're right, Stax pieces are going to come down. They're going to curve out Stax pieces in a way where it's going to make the game slow. But I still feel like some decks are consistently going to try to push on turn 2 or 3. I feel like people are going to tab out for Stax pieces the way they were tabbing out for Rhystic Study. And then they're going to lose the game. People don't know how to layer Stax pieces. So I'm sorry. People cast Deafening Silence into Sisay and Malcolm decks all the time, and then they lose the game because that deck can defend their combo under Deafening Silence. People have to learn how to use Stax pieces. Swiss is going to be a lot harder. Swiss is going to be a lot harder.
This is definitely going to be a lot harder, and I hope that all of what you guys are talking about is fully realized, because then I get to play Sans White, which is really where my true passions within this format lie. I love Green Within the Storm archetype, so I really hope that this is true. The problem is just that I don't think Roxai feels much of the adverse effects from these ban announcements. I mean, we're certainly punished by not being able to go Mana Crypt Wheel as consistently, but then we're also a deck that gets access to Infernal Plunge and Culling the Weak and Fierce Guardianship, Deadly Rollick for your Aethersworn Canonist or whatever. You know,
I don't think it's gonna feel the effects from the ban list, but it's gonna feel the effects from the meta shift. The meta shift is going to kill the consistency of that deck because of the amount of people playing the archetype. Just like the way the archetypes are going to move right now in CDH, that's where it's going to mess RockSci up. It's going to be a lot of control players, a lot of mid-range players, a lot of stacks pieces.
Yep.
Yes, you're right.
Yep.
RockSci is still going to have turn 2 and turn 3s, but they're just not going to be as consistent. People are going to have interaction.
That's a good take.
People are going to have interaction.
That's a very good take, because I'm someone that's always believed that since the printing of RogRack Silas is the most powerful deck within our format overall, but it's capped because of the multiplayer aspect of just if you're the first guy to go for it, you're likely to get stopped, and then what do you have left to do? Nothing. Right? You're just completely blown out. So if we do go back to a full meta kind of shift, like you guys are talking about, that'd be great. But also, people are pretty turbo pilled right now, and that's
going to end quick, though.
You think
that's going to run to a wall immediately? Yeah.
I mean, there's no consistency in turbo decks right now. It's just like weird because losing fast mana. It's like I said, that Power of Heroes Tymna tech into Aurochs Salvagers, it's cute, but it's cute and it could be fast, but like the setup is way different. I've been Light and Tutor into Power of Heroes, and now someone just like swords my Tymna on end step, and like it's gonna be too face up. I feel like turbo decks are gonna have to play more face up instead of rely on hidden information of like, okay, they're gonna have 5 mana up. Like person has 7 mana up, they're holding up Overloaded Cycloph. They have 5 mana up, it's end step Nas because they can't main phase it anymore because Rite of Flame Dockside isn't a thing, Mana Crypt isn't a thing. It's like it's just gonna be face up.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think the ones that are gonna suffer the most are commander centric turbo strategies. Those are just gonna get toasted.
Oh,
right. You just can't. Even Tymna Crom trying to go turbo Tymna Crom is dead. Like
it's just RockSci. Just play RockSci. At this time, it's really just play RockSci.
Yeah, RockSci is the only turbo deck that's going to be left in the format.
I think so.
Yeah. Corvold.
I would like other people to think so as well, because I don't know, man. I've been brewing a lot of Thras Vial in the past, really since the Invitational, because with just seeing what the overall meta looked like, my anticipation was nowhere near what's happening right now, but I thought players were going to naturally levitate back towards Stax because that's the ebb and flow of our format. We've seen it, over the past 5 years, at least once or twice, where the meta swings really fast and then it swings really slow. So I wanted a list that was able to kind of hang in there in the mid-range green strategy. And I don't know, man. I just don't know. The ability to go Carpet of Flowers, Dark Ritual, Nas, and then you get both Spirit Guides. Like maybe Turbo just shifts outside of being a YOLO RogSci turn order simulator into more of, I don't know, skillful Turbo gameplay, which is what I would obviously prefer, but.
I mean, yeah, I think Manual Storm is going to be a thing. I think I'm happy Reanimator is going to see a comeback. I don't know if Food Chain will see a comeback, but like I know Reanimator, the graveyard's going to matter a lot. People are going to Agatha Soul Cauldron lines, Razakaf. Now we have Demonic Council and stuff like that. Like I think Breach decks, I do agree. Like Turbo decks also have to shift some like Doom Whisper into Surveil for Breach tech. Like you have to find ways to go faster in different colors.
Yeah, I think that's all accurate. It's gonna be wild, man. It's gonna be wild. I'm here for it. But hot takes again. What's gonna win the boil?
Ooh.
Still gonna be 320 people.
Is it okay if I just say my boy Yidris here? I mean, all of your mana accelerants.
Is that what you're going to play there?
Now
Is that what you're gonna play there?
Probably not. The only reason Yidris was playable was because of Dockside. It's too early to say really what's going to win the boil. I do think that we're going to see a large resurgence from Temna Thrasios, which makes my heart a little bit happy because that was the first list I got on the deck list database for the boomers in the audience. I think we're going to see way less. Yeah, probably less Florian.
Florian's dead. There's no Florian anymore. Not this.
Sadly,
Yeah.
Rakdos took a big hit.
Rakdos is dead.
I think we're still going to see a surplus of VarrakS. I believe it's going to take more than one event. I think a good, especially if what we're talking about here comes to an actualization of players playing Stax and Control much more frequently, picking up decks like Talion, I do think VarrakS will begin to struggle, but I don't believe the Boil will experience much a cutoff from players bringing VarrakS. And so because of that, I think that the proficient pilots will still see success. I think that they'll probably make up upwards of 20 to 25% of the top 16. And then the rest, Timna Crom, I think, is still kind of untouchable. Even through Jorman's points that were really strong earlier, I think that list is still very powerful. If everyone else slows down, you're just as fast, right?
That's true.
And then the rest, it's a roll of the dice. I think Kinnan. Yeah, Kinnan. I think Kinnan will take it.
I'm with you. I think Kinnan, that's my prediction too. What about you, Jorman?
I think a Thrasios pile. I don't know what Thrasios pile. I think a Thrasios pile will win. Well, I guess not. Let me not say pile because that makes me think it's 4-color. A Thrasios deck will win the bowl. I don't know what Thrasios deck. If it's TNT, it's going to be either Control or Razakats because, again, Survival of the Fittest is the best green card ever printed. Or it could be Thrasios Francisco. I think a Thrasios deck will win the bowl.
Love it.
As long as they play Culling Ritual.
I mean, yeah.
You gotta play.
I mean, Culling Ritual stonks through the roof, destroys all those 2-mana Stax pieces.
Sure.
Oh yeah, that card's going to be so good now. This was a fun discussion for a freaking wild day. Appreciate you guys jumping on with me to go through it. Sorry we didn't get to talk about our original topic. But, it is what it is. Everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Please like and subscribe. I do have a Patreon now. That'll be in the description below, along with the Discord. This will be on Spotify. And Jorman, Kevin, guys, thanks for joining me.
Of course, bro. Conversations need to be had.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having us. This was great.